But yes, so the goal of today's workshop is to give you a high-level introduction to generative AI, and we're going to build a simple application in Python that's going to utilize ChatGPT's APIs and then also Spotify's APIs. Give me just 1 second. I've got to find these slides because I have my copy, but they're not on the Google, or I have to find them on the Google Drive. There we go. And slides. And give me just a second. Yes, we are going to share. Copy link.
So if you guys want to introduce yourself in the chat room and tell us where you're calling in from, that would be great while Aaron is setting up.
Yep. And then I will go ahead, actually just take my whole screen. We're going to share that. Here's going to be my slides. Let's present. And let's see where people are from in the chat. Jump to the latest. Florida, Indianapolis. Yeah, I'm going to Florida in like 10 days, so I'm really excited for that.
Stay away from the alligators.
Yeah, no. Oh, Pasadena. Wow. Okay, Silver Spring. I work out of Greenbelt, so I spend a lot of time up in the DMV. Yeah, Alexandria, North Carolina. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so I'm ready to go. If you guys are ready to go, hopefully this will be a fun and exciting workshop. The goal here is to be a little technical, but my philosophy overall is unless I am in a room with a bunch of other engineering nerds like me, I'm not trying to be super duper technical. I want to make sure that we explain things clearly and easily, because I'm all about making sure that everybody understands what's going on. So today's lecture is going to be an intro to generative AI using Python. My name is Aaron Shepard. I am a systems software engineer at NASA Goddard. Um, I have a lot of experience with robotics. I've been doing robotics in some form or another since 2017. I did a lot of robotics work for NASA while I was in school. And then now I do more orbit trajectories and calculations, but I do get to use AI to help predict our orbits and analyze our spacecraft trajectories. So that's really cool. And let's see, let's go to the next one. All right, so today's software needed. When I have done this in the past, I always spend like 30 minutes getting everybody synced up on the same system. We have the internet. We don't have to do that anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Google Colab, and that essentially allows me to host a Python Jupyter notebook. And what that means is that everybody can have the same stuff, the same computer. You don't have to worry about installing things as long as you have the internet. Here is the link to your Here's the link to your student copy. I'll send that to you as time goes on, or like as we get ready to go to the activity for today. Before I go on, let me go ahead and check the chat, see what people are talking about. What y'all talking about? Oh, yep, those are the slides. Okay, cool. All right, so moving on. Every year, I always like to open this talk with some form of a joke just to keep things light. So today is AI versus human learning. So the human says, okay, I've read 3 books, taken a course and practiced for a year. I think I finally understand this topic. AI said, hey, I read the entire internet last week. Ask me anything. The human asked the AI to explain taxes, and the AI is like, yeah, no, I can't do that. So, womp womp. The learning objectives of today's course. So we're going to talk about what is AI. We're going to do a very brief and high-level history of AI. We're also going to talk briefly about the types of AI. We're going to hone in specifically on generative AI, and then we're going to discuss AI agents because that is the general trend that AI is taking us now. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but a lot of all the super duper tech nerds like Bill Gates and them, they were like, oh yeah, AI agents are going to be the future. That was about 2 years ago, and lo and behold, AI agents are becoming the future. And then today we're going to build our own AI music agent. It will allow us to generate playlists based on how we feel. So we tell the AI, hey, this is how I'm feeling. And the AI is like, cool, I'm going to make you a playlist. All right, so what is artificial intelligence? Just kind of keeping things light. It is basically the demonstration of intelligence by machines instead of humans or other animals. Essentially, it's allowing machines to do things that normally a human or an animal would do. So you're giving machines the ability to mimic natural.
Just checking.
Popular. You have things like object manipulation, reasoning, planning, learning, things like that. But the way that I like to explain AI, if I had to explain it very simply to a 5-year-old, it is just taking a bunch of math and a bunch of statistics and doing it really, really fast. That's all this AI stuff is it's applied statistics. So looking at the history of AI, where did this come from? This is a concept that we've actually seen for about 100 years now in some form or another. Here, let me see. I guess I got something coming in on the chat. Yeah, okay, fun facts about me. Yeah. Uh, and actually, I am still in school. I'm actually in school getting a graduate degree focusing on AI. So yeah, I'm still there. After all these years, you would think I'd be done. But anyways, going back to the early foundations of AI, again, this concept is about 100 years old at this point. The first time we really started to see it was in science fiction, like a lot of the cool stuff that we have today. Oftentimes, and I can tell you stories in real life where basically we see things in books and movies and we're like, oh, hey, that's cool, let's make that. And then we actually make it. And so the first time AI is briefly mentioned is in a book called RUR, or Rossum's Universal Robots. It's kind of like the early foundation of a lot of the laws for robotics. Dr. Barry talks about this a lot. It's like Isaac Asimov's three laws of robotics, etc. These things came from science fiction. So that was the 1920s. By the 1950s, there were visions on how we could actually achieve AI. Basically, they had a machine that could do the Turing test, and then the term artificial intelligence itself was crowned in Dartmouth at a conference in 1956. So it's been around for a minute. Like many things, it's kind of the development of AI kind of ebbs and flows. We call these AI winners. Basically, what happens is they would make progress and then they would hit a limitation due to something like the technology at the time, and then they'd have to wait until the technology evolved, and then we'd hit more progress, etc. So in the 1960s and 70s, there was a lot of initial enthusiasm. You had a lot of early AI programs like ELIZA, which was able to simulate conversation. That's the picture that you see on the right. From there, you also had things called expert systems that came up in the 1970s, like Mycin, which they were able to use to help with medical diagnoses. But then you start to get to AI winners because, like I said, as you're developing this technology, you hit a limit. The first AI winner happened around like the mid 70s to early 80s. And in that case, you saw a lot of reduced funding and interest due to unmet expectations. Basically, everybody said AI is going to be this thing, and they didn't really have the computing power at the time to make it that good. So the people who had the money were like, nah, we're not going to do this. And so there was an AI winner. And then from there, you go into a second AI winner from the late 80s to the early 90s. And again, it's the same concept where it's just you have these expectations, but you don't have the ability to actually implement or implement or actualize these systems. Sorry, I said two words at the same time, implementize. And in that case, you hit another AI winner. So modern AI really begins in the early 2000s. So specifically around the 2010s, we had major breakthroughs in machine learning. This is around the time that we started figuring out things called neural networks, which we're going to talk about a little bit in today's class, but I think there are other Black and Robotics workshops that will go in detail about how those work. Um, and so again, this happened around 2012, and some notable achievements within AI history. So in 2011, you had IBM Watson. So their super AI actually won a game of Jeopardy. I remember reading this in the news and being like, what? And then in 2016, you had AlphaGo that defeated the Go champion. Again, that's a really popular game. And then in the 2020s, this is the one that everybody here is probably familiar with. This is like everybody's first AI, or like this is the big mainstream AI. These are large language models. So specifically GPT-3, GPT-4. I always say this, I knew that AI and large language models were becoming a thing when my wife, who is not a technical person at all, was telling me about ChatGPT. I was like, oh snap, you know about that? And that's how I knew like, okay, this is popular now. So future directions, and I think that this is so important. I throw this into every lecture that I have about AI, if it's technical or not. We really do have to focus on ethics and regulation. There is a growing emphasis on that. Um, what I like to tell people is this: 20 years ago when social media was becoming a thing, I remember when Facebook first came out, everybody was like, oh, hey, I can talk to people and, post pictures. Nobody at the time thought that you could use Facebook to swing political elections and have massive impacts on the world. And so, with that being said, as AI is being developed and it's this incredible game-changing technology, we have to be really mindful of just the ethics and the implications of it, because this is going to change a lot. It has already changed a lot, and the technology is here. It's not going anywhere. So we really have to think about what we're doing with it, what are the potential effects, and how we do things. So advances in AI that we are currently searching for now. The big goal, if you like follow any of the news, you may have seen the letters AGI. That stands for Artificial General Intelligence. Essentially, what that is that is an AI that possesses the intelligence of about a normal human being. So right now, AI models are smart, but they are only trained to, or they can only do what they're trained to do. They don't really like go beyond their training too well. An AGI system would be able to do that. So like you could tell it, hey, I want you to figure this out, and it would just figure it out on the fly like a person would. Now, in my opinion, are we close to AGI? No. Everybody says that large language models will get us there. I don't believe that. That's another topic for another time. If you want to get really technical, we can. But yes, so AGI is like the main goal right now. Like we have decent AI systems, but we want to get them as smart as a human. And then another thing that we're really, really interested in as far as like AI capabilities is human AI collaboration. So how do we have humans working with the AI to make ourselves more productive? Not the whole, we don't want the AI to replace humans. Again, that's another topic. I don't want to get into that. I don't think that that's going to happen. Let me see what's in the chat. Oh, okay. I'm just looking at, okay, cool. Um, let's keep going on. All right, so the types of AI, again, high level overview. I have more detailed slides if you want them, but just to keep it light and simple. So the first type we're going to talk about is a classical AI, which is symbolic. This is an artificial intelligence that is based on rules, logic, and symbols. This is the way that they used to do it back in the day, way, way back in the day. So this relies on symbolic representation of our knowledge. If you've ever taken like a knowledge representation course, this would be it. So you use this type of AI to develop things like Mycin, which we talked about, another thing called Dendril, and then they utilize something called rules-based systems. So specifically decision trees, they're just really, really big. I like to think of decision trees as if-else statements, but on steroids. So the AI that you're more familiar with, the ones that you're probably seeing now, if you're into the field, is machine learning. So in this case, this is an AI that uses an algorithm to learn from data and improve its performance over time. And part of this learning does involve its own past experiences. So this type of learning is data driven with various subtypes. So you have supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement learning. Supervised learning, basically, as it's training, the data is labeled so that way I can check to see if it, like what the answers are supposed to be. Unsupervised learning is you just give it a bunch of data and say, hey, figure this out on your own. Reinforcement learning is you have an agent and you give it a goal and you give it options to reach that goal, and it just tries random options until it learns like how to effectively reach the goal. Reinforcement learning is really cool. I do a class on this where you actually use it to teach an AI how to play Super Mario. So it'll like go through the first level of Mario. It's super duper fun. And then deep learning is a subset of machine learning that uses something called an artificial neural network. We can get into that later if you want. This is really, really good when you're handling large data sets, and it's good for things like feature extraction and high level abstraction. So, what it means is basically these neural networks are great for things like looking at pictures and saying, hey, that's a dog. Or, hey, I see this pattern in this data. Let's take it out and let's go with this pattern. And that pattern recognition is actually what powers your transformers, which if the GPT, basically the T in the GPT is a transformer. So that essentially is what's running your large language models under this or behind the scenes. So again, like I said, the neural networks are good for things like image recognition. So specifically, the convoluted neural networks do that. And then, like I said, natural language processing. So that's where you get ChatGPT from. So looking ahead, talking specifically about generative AI, this is a branch of artificial intelligence that's focused on creating new, and I'm using air quotes here, data, which could be text, images, videos, and sound. Now, philosophically speaking, there are a lot of us in the community don't think that generative AI makes anything new. It just recombines, it looks at everything that it's seen and been trained on and just recombines things to try to get to a reasonable answer. So you could consider that new, you couldn't consider that new. There's a lot of debate in the community as to what that actually is. And so the way that you can distinguish generative AI from traditional AI is that so traditional AI, you're going to use it for things like classification and prediction. So again, you're going to look at a picture and say, hey, that's a dog. Or you're going to look at, everyone in the class's favorite food. And then when a new person comes into the class, you're going to guess what their favorite food is based on all the other answers that you've seen so far. That is traditional AI. Generative AI is using it to create new content. So that's saying, hey, I want you to write me a poem about cats swinging from a tree. And the generative AI will go through and try to write that for you. So again, uses for traditional AI, if you look at that diagram on the left, so you're going to use that for predictive analytics, fraud detection, personalized recommendation, and then to automate your processes in business. For generative AI, you're going to use it for things like content creation, AI generated art. That's a big, interesting thing right now because of copyright laws. Here, let me look at the chat. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we only used traditional AI in 2000. Yeah, Gen AI did not exist in 2000. Not at all. Um, so yeah, that is totally true. You can also use it for synthetic data generation. There's an interesting thing happening right now where AI is generating its own data to train future models, and that's got some pretty interesting implications if you think about it. You can also do things like automated content moderation. So again, the reason why I'm honing on generative AI is because this is the one that your grandparents know about. My grandpa, born in 1946, can tell me about ChatGPT. So, like, if my grandpa can tell me about it, it is officially a thing, and that means this is something we need to understand, and this is something that we need to learn how to use. So, this is essentially what the internet was, I would say, 30 years ago, is what AI, specifically generative AI, is becoming now. It is this great new tool that's going to change the world, but we got to really understand it. Let me see. I got some stuff coming in the chat. Did I hear about the court ruling around Claude Anthropic and copyright? I think so. Yeah, I think I've been seeing that on my TikTok. Yeah. And again, there's a lot of, like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of ethical discussions that are coming up with this because you're essentially taking all of this artwork and or all this copyrighted material and using it to train AIs, and then AI is generating stuff based on that material. Like, how do you handle that legally, ethically? These are, again, these are tough questions to answer. All right, so key features of generative AI. I kind of mentioned some of these just when I was rambling, but it's good to have it on the slide. So the big thing is learning from patterns. They train on very large data sets and they use that to understand the patterns to create new data. I believe GPT-3, the size of its model is something like 500 gigs, I think, but that's GPT-3. And I imagine GPT-4, they haven't released its official size, but I think it's somewhere in the terabytes. Like it's a lot of data that they train on. So the big emphasis with generative AI is creativity and novelty. I'm putting an asterisk next to this again because it says it creates new and original content. Philosophically speaking, that is debatable. Another thing is that it attempts to be indistinguishable from human created content. However, I can tell you, I can usually spot when somebody uses AI to write something because AI, especially ChatGPT's AI, it has a very distinctive writing pattern that is almost like, oh yeah, you can't miss it. Like once you see it enough. Um, Another thing that they emphasize in generative AI is autonomy and content generation. So this is you want minimal human intervention. You essentially just want to say, hey, like I want these things, and the AI is going to go off and give you those things. No questions asked. So examples of generative AI. So you have things like chatbots and text generators. This is GPT, generative pre-transform or pre-trained transformers. You have image generators. The big one that OpenAI uses is DALL-E, and then you have music and video generation. So Sora is OpenAI's video model, and then Veo 3 is Google's new video model that just came out that you're seeing all over the place because it makes like the videos look so real. So here, let me see if I can share my audio with you. Share computer sound. We're gonna do mono, and then because I made this in VO3 like 20 minutes ago, and I thought I'd throw it in the slides because it's really cool.
Guess what? This is AI.
You guys could hear that, right?
Yes.
So, interesting things though, like AI tends to always make little mistakes. And VO3 is good, but this is the free model of it, or this is the not as expensive one. And if you notice, his feet are backwards relative to his head, or his head is turned around, which I think is kind of funny. But you can get some really interesting things, especially with these image and video generators, because again, the really good versions of this are they look super realistic, and so you have to ask questions of how do you make sure that you know what you're looking at, or how do you make sure that you know the thing that you see online is actually real and not generated by an AI. What generator did I use for your video? So I went through Gemini. It turns out you can get it's the AI Pro plan or something, 15 months for free through Google if you give them a student email address. So if you're in school, like I highly recommend it. Just remember to unsubscribe in like 15 months. But it allows you to generate up to 3 videos a day. You have access to Gemini. You have access to like all this other cool stuff. So I definitely encourage y'all to check it out. I found this out the other day and I've just been playing with it ever since. Up, we got a chat. Yeah, it's so much fun.
Guess what? This
Okay. All right, so the generative AI training process, since Gen AI is the big thing, I think it's important to understand how it works, at least on a high level. So, like we mentioned earlier, it is trained to recognize patterns and structures from large data sets. So essentially what you're doing is you are going to do a massive data collection. This is going to be a lot of text, images, and audio. You need lots of it, and it needs to be high quality. You have to do something called pre-processing, which is cleaning the data, standardizing it, formatting it so that way the model can understand it. And then the model training itself, you do this over multiple iteration. You call these epochs. And if you understand how neural networks work, essentially, after every epoch, you're going to go through and update the weights of each layer in the neural network to basically when you have the neural network, you're going to have different layers, and those layers will have a weight. And you put in information in one layer, and then it'll go through multiple layers to get out a final answer. Essentially, what happens during training is that the model will see something, guess what it should be, and then look at what the answer actually is, and then it'll update its weights to match the answer that it had versus what it was supposed to see. So it does this over time, and eventually you get to a model that gets really good at guessing what things are supposed to be. And I basically explained the evaluation process where you look at generated data and you compare it to the real data. So you basically the generated answer from the model versus what the answer actually should be. And the picture here is because Ash is a Pokemon trainer. So again, harping so much on ethical biases and challenges. So keep in mind that AI is trained off of human data. Human data will always have biases in them. So those biases in the human data will actually get picked up by the AI. An example of this is that if you're training facial recognition software, and you're doing it in the United States, where the majority of the population is white, you more than likely are going to have a bunch of white people in your training data. And then when it gets to see people of color, it tends not to do as well because it just doesn't train off of that. But there's a bias in the data because there just happens to be more white people here than people of color. Other things too, so if there are stereotypes in your training data, the AI model will actually pick up on that and propagate that forward. So that can actually blow up in big ways. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Minority Report, where they had like they had the AI that could like predict if a crime was going to happen, and it ended up being wrong because of the biases in its like model or in the technology itself. So that was a movie, but stuff like that can actually happen in real life, where again, you have stereotypes that get propagated and amplified because the AI is seeing it in the training data and saying, hey, okay. Other ethical considerations, specifically with generative AI, you're talking about things like copyright infringement. But the big one, and you have to keep this in mind now, got a chat. Let me see. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know the last day was June 30th. Wow. I slid in there right in time. Sweet. Um, the world that you live in, it doesn't matter where you sit on the political spectrum. You have to understand that this technology can be used to sway things one way or the other, and that is going to be an issue that we have to solve. So things that you have to consider are stuff like deep fakes and fake news. It's using AI to generate content that looks real but actually isn't. Something that came up around last year's time, and I threw it in the slides, was that Taylor Swift got really upset because essentially somebody used an AI to generate a picture of her promoting a candidate for presidency that she didn't support. And that did spark a larger conversation about like the concept of deepfakes. So this is something that, again, it's a major problem. We're working on it now. It's something you just have to consider. Unfortunately, it is the way the world works. So moving on, I remember a couple years ago, I happened to be on Reddit like every other nerd, and Bill Gates randomly popped up in the AI subreddit, and he did this long post about how AI agents are going to be the future. And yeah, I mean, it's Bill Gates. I think he knows a thing or two about technology. I mean, the dude invented Windows. So AI agents essentially are an AI agent is essentially a system that can perceive its environment, make decisions, and then take actions to achieve a goal. So it's kind of like when we talk in the robotics class about how the robot can sense and do and things like that. Essentially, an AI agent is an AI version of that. So the key components of an AI agent are its ability to perceive things. This could be information that it gets from sensors, information that it reads from the internet, information that it gets from the user, etc. And then another concept is their ability to reason and plan. So they are given a goal and basically say, based on their training, they're told, hey, figure it out. And so what the AI will do is it'll say, okay, like let me think about this, let me figure out how to do this, and then it will say, okay, here's my plan to do it. Another thing about an AI agent, and what we're going to talk about a little bit more on the next slide, are its abilities to take action. So this is its ability to actually execute a task, not just within its own system, but interacting with external systems as well. And then finally, a key component of AI agents is learning, where it improves over time. It looks at its performance, and then again works to make itself better. So examples of AI agents are things like chatbots, personal AI assistants, robotic processing automation, game AI. So the AI in games has gotten really, really good over the last few years. I don't know if you guys are gamers here, but sometimes some things be hard. Okay, yep, see that in the chat. Um, and a big important thing with AI agents up, I got another chat coming in. Let me take a look. Yeah, NPCs are crazy. Oh, it's only gonna get more gnarly too. A big thing that I like to think about with AI agents is essentially it is taking your agent or it's taking your AI and giving it the ability to do stuff outside in the real world. So you can give it tools and information to make those things happen. And so a major tool that comes into play with a lot of AI agents is something called an API. Again, keeping things high level here, an API essentially stands for an application programming interface. What this does is it allows different apps and services to talk to each other. So let's say I'm writing my app at home. If I use Google's API, I can now talk to Google and get data from them. So the example that I always give is that, I have my location shared with my wife. Let's say she leaves the house for a few hours and she says, hey, you need to clean, or I would like for you to clean before you come home. Let's say I didn't feel like cleaning. I was playing video games. I was struggling against those hard AI NPCs. I could essentially write an app that will look at her Google location data and notify me when she comes within a 20-mile radius of the house. So that way I know to get up and clean. So and to do that, I would need access to Google's API again, so that way I can pull their location information and integrate it into my own app. A common metaphor that they use when explaining what an API is it's like being at a restaurant and having a menu. So the restaurant menu tells you what to ask for and how to ask for it. So let's say you or the app that you're writing, you want an omelet, right? The API is essentially the menu and the waiter, and it tells you how to order the omelet. And then the server, which belongs to the restaurant, is going to make that order for you. So it's going to make the omelet and then send it to you. And essentially, what this means in technical terms is that you send a request to an API for some data, and then the API will send a response. So an example of this would be using Spotify's API to search for songs or ChatGPT's APIs to like query and interact with the various models. Now, based on that example, what do you guys think we're going to do for our activity today? Let me see what you guys think in the chat. Yes, develop an agent, make music. Not today. Not today. Something close to that. Make agent video. No, not today. I didn't have time to figure out how to do Gemini's API, but I'm really familiar with ChatGPT's. Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to basically, here, I think it's on the next slide. What we are going to do is we are going to make an AI agent. What this agent will do is it will ask the user how they are feeling. So it'll be like, I feel happy, I feel sad, I feel like dancing. And then what this will do is this agent will call ChatGPT's model and it will say, hey, based on how this person is feeling, give me a playlist of 5 songs. And then next, what the agent is going to do is it's going to use Spotify's API to look at the songs that ChatGPT generates and then create links to those songs in Spotify. So that way you can just click it and then you're just like, oh, there's a song. These songs better be song, all right? Yeah. All right. So those are the goals for our AI agent. Here, let me get you. So I have two versions of this actually. I have my master copy and then I have the student copy. And in a perfect world, I would not have these on the same screen. We're gonna do that, and we're gonna go home to my drive. Here, I'm going to get you guys the link to the student copy, and we're going to hit that share button. Share. Anyone with a link can access copy link. It's also in the slides. So, everybody, let me know when you get to the collab chat here. And actually, if you give me just a second, I can pull up my copy on my phone so that way I know how to guide you guys through this. And you guys still can't see the answers. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. That's the Gemini link. Perfect. So the reason why I chose Google Colab is that in theory, it allows us to all work together, but we do not have to install anything on our computers, which is a great thing for us, specifically me, because it is very difficult to get everybody's system lined up. Here, let's go to Google Colab. Boom, boom. Recent, search notebook, Google Drive, master. There we go. All right, so everybody in the chat, let me know when you get to the student notebook. We're actually going to walk through this one together. It'll be a pretty quick example. I promise you it won't be too painful. Okay, you're there. All right, so I'll give everyone else a few minutes to catch up, and then we will go on about our day, and we will keep doing this thing. So again, when you get there, when you get to the notebook, just put it in the chat so that way I can get an idea of how many people are actually there.
So while we're waiting for everybody to get there, how did you figure out or get this Spotify API, text that we see on the screen?
How did I get the Spotify API? Like, how did I figure that out?
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT helped me.
Okay.
Yeah, I pride myself on being very open and honest with all of my students that I lecture. Like, I think AI is a wonderful tool, and yes, I do use AI to help me write my presentations on AI. And so last year we did just a general like you could talk to it like Chat GPT and that was fine, but I wanted to do something different. I asked Chat GPT for a bunch of ideas and said, hey, like why don't you do this where it makes a list of the Spotify songs for you. I was like, oh, okay. And
Mm-hmm.
then well, I just was like, all right, let's go for it.
Okay. Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, so now your student copy, if you try to run it right now, will fail because I took out a bunch of lines of code. I do have a master copy. If we can't get this one working for whatever reason, then we will make it happen. So we're going to walk through this notebook together. For the sake of today's class, I didn't know anyone's experience level, so we're not going to like write the API calls from scratch. I essentially just took out lines of code that I think are crucial, and we're going to talk about like how they work and what's important, and we're going to put them in and get this thing going. All right, so I do believe. Okay, we got a lot of people saying we're there. Sweet. All right. Does it? Oh, I guess everyone gets their own individual copy of the notebook. We don't share this. Oh, sweet. Or do we? Either way. So if we share the notebook, I don't know if we're sharing this notebook or if everyone has their own copy, but we're gonna walk through this together. So we will see. Can we add the link again? Of course. Here is, let me copy that and then paste it. All right, there's the link. Okay, we're gonna readjust. Admit. Sweet. All right. So I really like the Jupyter notebooks because they allow you to kind of write things. It makes the coding very easy. It makes it super easy to teach with. Not sure if you guys have worked with Jupyter notebooks in the past, but sorry. Not sure if you worked with Jupyter Notebooks in the past, but they're really, really fun. I highly recommend them. All right, so the goal of this is to make an AI application where we tell it our mood and it will generate a Spotify playlist of 5 songs that matches our mood. So the first thing that we're going to do is start by installing the necessary libraries. I've handled that code for you. Essentially, the libraries that we need for today are OpenAI and Spotify. If you want to, you can just go ahead and click the play button here to run this cell of code. But essentially, it's just going to install the libraries. Like it's not too many things are going to happen. And it's already installed in this notebook. So you'll just see like, hey, everything's installed. Oh, okay. Or no, it had to reinstall Spotify. Okay, so yeah, you do have to run that. Okay, cool. Oh, because the data gets deleted after runtime. Okay, sweet. All right. So are we good to move on to the next cell? Just send me a message in the chat or like come on the mic and say yeah. Or if you want to stop and talk about something, do that too. Okay, sweet. We're good to move on. Let's keep going. All right, so now that we have our libraries installed, we're going to go ahead and look at our imports. Specifically, we're going to focus on loading in the API. So normally, when you work with APIs, you don't want to have your API keys, which essentially allow you, like, an API key is like a series of letters and numbers that you attach it to your application, and that's when it makes the call. It's like, oh, okay, this is tied to Aaron's account. So yeah, this is a valid API key. So normally you don't want to actually have those keys in your code because API keys are tied to things like money. Whenever you make a call to like ChatGPT, it charges you something like a penny or something, or they charge you by the token technically. But the point is, it's just good practice to not have your API key in your code. So instead, what you can do there are a couple things. You can use something called an environmental file in Python to essentially hide away your key from the rest of like the people that would be looking at it. Um, but since we're using Google Colab, they have their own secret key features that handles the key hiding for us. And so what we need to do is we need to replace code here with userdata.get. So if you notice if you notice in this first line of code here from Google Colab, we're importing user data. Essentially, that's a class that allows us to handle getting the secret keys. So we need to replace the lines that are said code here with userdata.get and then the secret key name. Now, so I think you guys have your own copy of the notebook. Actually, I'm going to do something real quick. Can you guys, if I type this, do you guys see those H's on your notebook? Let me know in the chat. Okay, you guys don't see those H's in your notebook, so that means that everybody has their own individual copy. Sweet, so we get to all work together. We aren't going to step on each other. So we have 3 keys that we need to install. The first one is going to be our OpenAI API key. The second one is going to be our Spotify client ID key, and then our Spotify client secret. So in this first line here, what we're going to do is where that line says code here, we are going to say user data.get. Oh, sweet. Oh, the AI is doing it for me. OpenAI key. And that's where we're setting what the OpenAI API key is. And then we're going to do the same thing for the client ID and then the client secret. So we're just going to call user data dot get, and then we're going to say do spot. And actually, I'm just going to copy this because I don't feel like typing that. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing for our client secret where we just say user data dot get. And then we're going to say Spotify client secret. Gosh, I cannot speak English today. So when you have those 3 lines of code changed on your notebook, just go ahead and run it for me. And you shouldn't see any errors. And again, to run it, you just press this little play button that's by the cell. So once you get those changes in, go ahead and let me know how things go for you in the chat. Okay, how are things going for you guys? Okay, secret not found. OpenAI API key does not exist. Okay, let me see. You should have access to it. Do 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 do. OpenAI API key here. Yeah, the notebook should have access to it. Rihanna, if you want, share your screen for a second. Let me take a look. I can probably debug you real quick. Not there. So go ahead and click. Actually, let me see if I can request control. Do more. So you see that key that's on the left of the screen? So go to the left, scroll down. See that thing that looks like a key? Go down a little bit. Yep, click on that for me. Oh, interesting. How do you not have my keys? No secret saved. Hmm. Okay, guys. Here is what we're going to do. Cannot save changes. Hold on, let me look at how this notebook is shared. Run, edit, do, report a bug. Give me just a second. Secrets with other people. Give me just a second, guys. I wrote a script. Does not transfer sheet. No. Oh, somebody else had this problem. Let's find it. How to share secrets in Google Colab. I thought it automatically did this. I'm sorry, y'all. Let's see. We got a chat. Let me see. Do. Where is that chat? Do. No, here's what I'll do for you guys. I'll just go ahead and give you my information real quick. I'll walk you through how to make those keys, so that way we can just keep it going. It's not the biggest thing in the world. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna here, let me share my screen and then I will show you how I made those keys. And you guys can make your own keys. All right, so essentially what you're going to do is you're going to click on this key and you're going to say add new secret. So I will give you the name of the secret, which will be here. So the first one is going to be OpenAI API key. And then for the value, you're going to want to copy and paste this. And then you're going to want to click this button that says Give Notebook Access. And then from there, I'm just going to copy these all into the chat, and you guys can make that. So Spotify client ID will be this. Then we're going to go Spotify client secret. And that will be this. And then Spotify redirect URI, it will be this. So, what you're going to do, does everybody understand? You don't have to type in the chat, just somebody come on the mic and say yes or no. Do you understand how to put in these keys?
Yeah, it's straightforward.
Okay. All right, so yeah, let's just go ahead and put those keys in, and we will just go from there.
So what was the point of the last one, the Spotify redirect?
So I think if you're trying to log in or something and you fail a login, it's basically saying, hey, what web page do I redirect you to? And it's just gonna be it'll be like a local thing on your computer. That's why you're at the local host.
Mm. Now, once we add all these in, is there something that we have to do to save, or does it automatically save?
It'll automatically save to your notebook.
Okay, so then we can just go ahead and run this again.
Yeah, you could run this line, and so if you run this cell specifically, you shouldn't have any errors.
Oh yeah, we're still getting errors.
Uh-oh, what errors are you getting?
It's like secret not found error.
Wait, let me where do we find these keys if you were building them from scratch? You would actually have to go to like OpenAI or Spotify. You would have to if you Google it, it'll tell you how to start a developer account, and then they'll give you an API key based on like the developer account. So that's how you find it. All right, go ahead and share your screen. Let me take a look and see like what problems you're having.
Okay, so let me just go share and then let's hop back. So,
You have to do the notebook access. So you see like the where it says notebook access on the, yeah, you got to click the button until,
ah,
yeah,
well,
there
yeah,
you go.
just every time it's just one little thing.
Yeah, it's all that, yeah, that's software. Wait, whoa, what are you?
Okay, so all that's on. So then I just hit this again. Uh,
Okay. Oh, you got to make sure the name of the key is right. So like go, you see where it says OpenAI key?
uh-huh.
You see yours is named OpenAI key and it's looking for OpenAI API key. So just copy the
Okay,
yeah, copy that name on the left-hand side. Yeah, copy, yeah.
okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, and then just go
Always
back to your
something.
code, scroll up.
Oh, here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So just paste it, hit Control V.
Okay.
There
Okay.
you go.
Now let's see.
Perfect.
I'm ready now. Thank you
All
much.
right. Yeah. You think it was successful? You got a lot of additional text. It works. Okay, uh, Rihanna, go ahead and share your screen for me. Let me take a look. Now you can, it's not the API key. All right, so run your code for me. Yeah, that worked. Okay, yeah, you didn't get any. No, that text is the next part of the notebook. So that's just me. That's the next part that we're going to move on to. So I'm going to assume that the majority of the people have gotten everything working, at least their API keys in. Is that a safe assumption for me to make?
Yeah.
All right, word. Let's keep going then. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to keep rocking and rolling. Okay. So now that we've handled our imports, we're going to write the functions to make our music mood app. The first function will call ChatGPT to make our playlist based on our mood. Since this is an introductory class, we're just going to focus on the prompt because when you're working with generative AI, learning to prompt it is very important. And then the other thing that we're going to focus on is the specific model of ChatGPT that we would like to use. So talking about prompting AI, there is an actual like science to it. I don't know if you guys have heard of the term prompt engineering, but it's just structuring what you ask the AI to make it very clear. So in general, one good practice is to be as specific as possible. So in this case, we want the AI to be really, really good at understanding and recommending music. So it's a good thing to start the prompt with something like act as a music expert. So for this prompt specifically, we want the AI to basically, we want to tell the AI how we're feeling. The AI is going to understand our mood and then generate a playlist of 5 songs matching this mood. And then from there, we'll write more functions to get Spotify links to those songs. So to make all of this happen, though, because again, all ChatGPT is going to do is return text, but we need that text to be in a specific format so that way we can parse through it and generate a list and then send it off to Spotify. And so it's going to be in the format of song name and then dash and then artist. All of these things should be clearly explained in the AI's instructions. So if we look here, I gave you the beginning of the prompt, and we're going to work on this prompt together. The one thing you may notice is this little funny thing here with mood. So keep in mind, the mood is something that we are giving the program. So that is going to be an input variable. But we need this input variable to be a part of the string that we use to prompt the AI. And so to do so, we use something called an F string, which in Python, that allows you to essentially write a string and then add in the variables. So in this case, the variable's name is mood. This is part of the string, and we use these curly braces to say, hey, whatever we have stored in this mood value, like add that to the string. Um, and then the other thing that we want to talk about are just the different models. So when you have an OpenAI API, there are a bunch of different models that you could use. You could use 4.0, you could use O4 Mini, which has like the reasoning, but we don't need all of that. And to be honest, since this does cost money, I'm trying to make it a little or as cost effective as possible. So for that, we're going to use GPT 3.5 Turbo. So first things first, in this prompt here script, let's go ahead and write something like this. Let me pull up my master because come on now. There we go. So tell you guys what, let's have a discussion. So what's the first thing that we should tell this prompt? Like, come on, you guys don't have to chat. You guys can actually come on the mic if you want, but like, what is one of the first things that we should tell this prompt or tell this AI? Like, how do we want the AI to behave? Act as a DJ. Okay, I could do act as a DJ. Is everybody okay? Is everybody else cool with act as a DJ?
Sure.
Act as a DJ. I'm going to give it a little bit more context. We're going to say act as a DJ that has great taste. Or act as a DJ. How about this? Act as a DJ that is an expert in music. Okay, so that's the first part of our prompt. Now what we're going to do is we have to tell it to take our mood and then recommend 5 songs based on that mood. Oh, that is an expert in psychology and music. Oh, okay, I can do that. Okay, perfect. Now from there, we have to tell we have to tell the AI to take the mood that we give it and generate a playlist of 5 songs. So how do we want to do that?
Well, I mean, you're talking about us being very specific. I would say generate 5 what do you call it? R&B songs that make you feel happy all the time.
Okay, how about this? Let's say based on, I like that, on the mood described. We're going to say, because you can specify in your mood, you could say like, hey, I want to listen to R&B. And then that's the thing with the AI is that you can, after you prompt it, you can give it, like you don't necessarily have to specify in the prompt that it's just R&B because otherwise when the AI looks, it's only going to look for R&B music because again, the AI
Okay.
is going to do exactly what it's told. But
Mhm.
when you actually describe your mood, you're like, hey, I feel like listening to R&B. Then it knows, hey, I need to pick R&B.
Mhm.
So based on the mood described, and how many songs do we want? We don't have to do 5. Suggest how many songs do we want?
Why don't we just go with 5 for right now so we can, learn how to play with it later? Because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah, 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 yeah.
interesting.
So based on the 5 songs, and remember, we need to have the artist name. So we're going to say with artist, uh, names that match the mood. And then remember the last thing. Oh, a suggestion could be given type of music as a variable, but if left blank, the AI can do what it wants. Okay, yeah, yeah. How about yeah, let's add that after we get this running, because if we've got time, like I love expanding code. So keep that in mind. Like let's play with that. So if you here we got another message. You could specify that too. I think it would be able to do that. We can let's if we got time afterwards, we can experiment with that. And of course, I'll leave my API key up for ChatGPT open so you guys can play with this until it runs out of money, and then that's that. But it takes it a while. So, and it's only like $10 too. That I only put like $20 in, and I've been using this API for the last 2 years. So that tells you how cheap it is. So the other thing that we have to talk about is, remember, we need the songs to be returned in the format of song name and artist. And so to do so, we're going to specify, we're going to say return them as a clean list like song name dash artist. So return them as a clean list of our like, and then we're going to go song name dash artist name. And I think that is going to be our prompt. And remember the mood, we're going to pass that in. So don't worry about that. And the last part is, again, we have to specify which model that we want. So in that case, this line that says model here, you're going to change that to be, what did I say? GPT-3.5 or dash turbo. It's up here in the instructions. So I'm not sure if this will run. Oh, it does run. Okay, sweet. So once you guys have these changes in, so once you've written your prompt and you have changed your model to GPT 3.5 dash or dash turbo, go ahead and click that run button and let me know what you guys get. Okay, check mark. Cool. I'm glad you guys are getting check marks. Let me hear one or two more people and then we will move on.
Okay, so I got the check mark like you did, but are we waiting for it to do something else?
No, because we haven't ran that part of the code yet. So essentially we're running it in chunks.
Okay,
The check mark just checks to make sure that you put in everything right.
okay.
Okay, we all got check marks. All right, sweet. I think we can move on. All right, so now that we wrote our function to get or to have ChatGPT recommend songs to us, now we have to write functions to read those recommendations from ChatGPT and then pass them down to Spotify or pass them along to Spotify. And so one thing, again, it's super important to understand how large language models work. The majority of the time, you're going to put in text and you're going to get out text. So if you want your large language model to actually be able to do stuff in the real world or to interact with things, again, you may have to take that text and format it a certain way, so that way you can pass it off to other APIs and then, things can happen based on that. So essentially what we're going to do now is we're going to write a function that is going to search what ChatGPT gave us, and it's going to essentially look for a pattern. And the pattern is going to specify like, okay, basically we're searching to see if it has the song name dash artist name format that we're looking for. And the way that we're going to search this is using something called regex, or the regular expression library. It's very, very popular in Python. It essentially allows you to search strings for patterns, and it's very powerful. So basically, what we're doing is we're going to specify the pattern that it searches for, and do not do not feel bad if you don't understand what any of this means. I am a full-time Python developer. I don't know a single Python developer that actually intuitively understands regex. We all look it up online and we're like, oh, okay, that's how I search for that. So it's very confusing. Uh, basically what it's going to do is if the function finds the pattern that we're looking for, it's going to add the song name and the artist name to a list, and then we can iterate through that list later and send it off to Spotify. So the pattern that we're looking for, because again, the song name and the artist name could be anything, is we have to do this funky set of characters right here. And so essentially what you're going to do, let me edit this to, should be replaced by bam. Yeah, let me edit that. So that way that makes sense. So what you're going to do is you're going to put in this set of characters. I recommend that you copy it straight from here because trying to type this in will be a bit of a pain. And then you're going to go down to where it says pattern here, and you're going to paste that in like so. So it should look something like this. Um, if you want a full breakdown of what each section of that means, I've included a picture here. Guess what? I generated this picture off of ChatGPT because, to be honest, like I had no idea. I did not know a clean way to explain it. And I was like, ChatGPT, explain this for me. Um, so essentially, things that you can search for in the regex library, you can match one or more character, you can look for any number of white spaces, you can look for, like in this case, here we're searching for a literal dash. Again, optional white spaces, then, match and capture the rest. But let's see, let's go ahead and click the button after you put in the pattern, and it should show you a green check mark. So when you get the check mark, just either let me know in the chat or just come on the mic and say, hey, I got it. And if you need help, let me know as well. Okay, we got it to 16, to 15, to 18. Let me get one or two more people and then we will move on.
Ooh, okay, that didn't work.
All right, share your screen. Let's go ahead and take a look.
So, like,
It has to be put a quotation mark at the beginning. Yeah, yeah.
get rid of the R because that,
Yeah.
okay, hold
Well,
on.
yeah, put the R. Yeah, put the R in front of the quotation mark.
Oh, okay, so it does need to be there. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, the pattern needs to be in quotation marks. There you go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, I can't tell you.
Oh,
Because I primarily like program in Python for my job.
mm-hmm.
Not to age myself, string compare was what we like to use instead of regex and C++. I don't like using regex either, but everybody uses it, so I got to. Uh, but I mean, regex is pretty powerful though, because again, you can give it some pretty funky forms. Like we actually use that to track things in our satellite data. But what I was going to say is that I cannot tell you the number of times that I have spent like 3 hours trying to fix my code only to realize that I forgot a quotation mark somewhere. Like that is, oh, that's so painful. Okay. Am I good to move on, or do we want to hold on for a second? All right, going once, going twice. I say we move on. Okay, we're getting really, really close. So we just did our pattern. So Essentially, we took the songs that Chatty G gave us, and now we need to actually search Spotify. This is done by using Spotify's API calls. And again, because this is an intro class and I wasn't sure of everyone's programming level, I decided for this section we are not going to code anything, but here it is. It's a good idea just to get a look at like how you would call the API. Essentially, what's happening here is I got a chat. Let me see. Let's see that picture. How are you feeling today? Moody. Funny. Funny to Aaron. Okay. What we are doing is essentially here. So we have a results that's going to be an empty array. That song list is what we generated last time. So essentially, we're going to query the song and the artist. To do that, we're going to search Spotify, we're going to get the track, we're going to get the artist name, and then we're going to get the external URL for it. What this thing exception is for, if you're not familiar with programming, is essentially a try except block will actually try the code, and if it doesn't work, it'll say, hey, it's not working, and then it'll give you a message saying like, oh, hey, it failed. You failed at this code specifically. So that's what a try except block does. So again, you could click this one and it should work just fine because I didn't take anything out. But I thought it'd be good for us to just go over that in a higher level. So the last thing that we need to do is we need to write our main function. The goal of this function is going to be to ask the user how they're feeling, take their mood, and then call the other functions that we've written. So to make this happen, we use something called the input function to read and store the user input. So what you type in will get stored as the user input. So the first thing that you're going to do is where you see input here, you're going to replace that line with this, where it says input and ask the user how they're feeling today. You don't want to directly copy ask the user how they're feeling today. You want to say something like, oh, and that's not going to work anyways because of the escape character. But you're going to want to say something like, how are you feeling today? Question mark. So after you put that in, so again, you're going to write input, how are you feeling today? What that will do is it will cause the program to ask you, how are you feeling today? You will type something and whatever you type will get stored in this variable called mood. So the next line that we're going to change is the get song here. What we're going to do is remember we wrote a function called get song recommendations from mood, and we passed in a variable called mood. So to make that call in your main function, essentially what you're going to type is get song recommendations from mood and then mood. There is a Python programming is very interesting in general. Here we got a chat. Haha, got my Moody playlist. Yeah, sweet. Okay. So we called our function to get the recommendations from our mood, and then the next thing that we're going to do is let's see, get songs here, and then the last one is where it says search songs here. Essentially, we're going to call our function to search Spotify for the songs that we get. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So tracks equals search songs here. And then you should be able to run this with no errors. Oh, sweet. Radiohead, Helium. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. So get everyone else caught up. Basically, you want to make these code changes here. They're in the instructions if you need them as a reference, but I have this code put up. And then once you hit that green, or once you're done with that, you should hit that play button, and then you should see a green check mark. And then, as some of you guys have already figured out, once you've done all that, if you run the main function, it will ask you, how are you feeling today? I'm gonna say, I feel like dancing merengue, because I really do. And then it's gonna search Spotify, and it's gonna give me a playlist. And if you click these links, where's my audio? Oh no, why is my audio not piping through? Interesting. But that's the actual song, so we'll figure that out later. But let me know how you guys are doing in the chat. Don't Stop Believing. Happy, Despicable Me, Can't Stop the Feeling, Good as Hell by Lizzo. Okay, Rihanna, let's go ahead, share your screen, and let's debug you. All right, scroll up. Input, songs. All right, let's scroll down. I scroll down, let me see something. Search Spotify is not defined. Okay, so scroll up. I bet you just mistyped the okay, scroll up to your function where you scroll up to the previous cell where you write search Spotify. Okay. Oh, you got to run that code. Run that line for me. Or run that cell that says define. No, the next one. Yeah, run that. Okay, now run your main function. All right, yeah, run that one. Now run the main. Yeah.
Ah,
There you go.
so do you what, because we were running subsequent ones as we were filling in the information, does that mean you just need to go back and start from the beginning and run all of those in order to get the last one to work?
You could do that, or there is a button if you look, and this is with all Jupyter notebooks. You see where it says run all, it'll just run everything that you've written, and that would work too.
Okay, run all.
Yeah, that will run your whole code.
Okay, it says now let's run it all together, and that was the main button, correct?
Yeah, but that was just one section of the code.
Okay.
So it said it couldn't find the function because you never ran the section where you define the function. But if you hit this run all button, you will run everything that is in the notebook.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see what we got. Paste your butterfly playlist. So yeah, everybody go ahead and paste your playlist to the chat. Let's see what you guys got. Wait, why did it give me Gasolina? That's not merengue. Place my merengue, yeah. Okay, I froze. Okay, there we go. Stay Scheming by Rick Ross, yes.
Ooh, this one was better. Uh, I actually put in a different prompt, instead of just happy. Uh, I put in let's see. I put in soulful.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got an interesting selection.
Oh, yeah, go ahead and paste that. And let's go back and revisit some ideas because we've got like half an hour, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Let's go back and visit some of these ideas because I think they were really good ways to adjust the code.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So I like this one. A suggestion could be giving it the type of music as a variable, but if left blank, the AI could do whatever it wants. I'll give you one better. You don't even need to put a variable in there because this is the power of AI. Like this is what makes AI so cool. You could specify in the prompt and say, hey, if the mood specifies a genre of music, then stick to that genre only. Otherwise, you can pick any song from any genre that matches the mood. So if you go back up to your line where you define get song recommendations from mood, you can just add that to the prompt. If a specific genre or genres are specified by the user, only return those types of songs. Otherwise, you can pick any song you think is best. Return them as a clean list. All right. So now if we go back through, we updated our prompt. And now if we go back through and run the whole thing, and when you run the whole thing, you're going to have to scroll down to your main line to actually see where it says, how are you feeling today? I feel like so, I feel like dancing to soulful R&B. Ooh, Adorned by Miguel, Booed Up by LMA, Lost Without You, Robin Thicke. Oh no, 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 that's in style of Robin Thicke. Uh
Oh,
Spoiled Rotten, No Diggity by Blackstreet. What?
yeah. I mean, well, and it's like you and I both got Miguel, but I thought it was interesting to see based. LMA, we got that, and then I got other stuff like the On the River with Khalifa, In the Morning by Fabulous, and Love on Top, Beyonce.
Wow.
Yeah, but Blackstreet was a one time. They had their hit "If You Love Me," and that was pretty much what they kind of felt like a one hit wonder, but they were good.
Yeah. Okay. We've got a little bit of time left. I can either answer questions, we can play around some more, or I can give you guys 30 minutes of your Sunday back. Whatever y'all want, I'm here.
Hey Aaron, this is Tamika. I missed the step, like I ran it all together and it says generating mood based. So it says no valid songs were generated. So what do I need to do to get my playlist? Is it showing anything now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So let's scroll down. Okay, so hit that run all button for me and let's just see what you get. Okay, so we need to look at your code. Scroll up for me. Go to your search Spotify function. All right, scroll up a couple of cells. Oh, I know why. Okay. So you for that you see where it says mood in main? Yeah, you need to type input. It needs to look something like this, where it's going to be I'll put it in the chat. Uh because mood is a variable and you're not setting that variable.
Okay. If I can see your screen where you typed it in, I can mimic it, but
Okay, I put it in the chat for you too if but here I'll take my screen. I'll take the screen back over and you can see it. So in here I have mood and then the word input, then an open parentheses, quote, how are you feeling today? Close parentheses.
okay. Mood equals input. Okay. Okay. Now I have the prompt. Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then just to show the difference, I'm gonna say I feel like dancing. And if you notice, like, because I didn't specify the genre, it's picking a bunch of things like I can't read French, but that does not sound like pop. Here's a song from Trolls, Dancing in the Velvet Moon, and this is in Japanese, it looks like. So I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. So it's giving me a variety of genres. Yeah, it's because the troll songs are super popular, and I feel like when they were like, I feel like this just came up a lot in the training data, so like it's gonna look for that song like that. Those troll songs are really, really popular. Okay, so that was everything I had for today.